welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel in the first place. Today we have a Kuroo X listener. Really cute and love it so much. Either way, let's get into it. I got 12. How many did you get? You can't tell exactly where he is, but Kuroo's curious voice didn't have to carry that far for his words to reach your ears. You're lucky it's dark because your face is squenched with dismay at the small number of dancing fireflies cupped in your palm. You had no doubt that if the clouds weren't blocking out the pale moonlight, he would already be teasing you about his 3-night winning streak. Make that 4 now. You count 6 fireflies in total. You're pretty sure one of them is actually a ladybug, but yeah, this wasn't going to be much of a competition, was it? Listener, how many? Kuroo prompts once more, this time closer, lower and already assuming victory. That smug bastard, you frowned to yourself. Even in the darkest hours of night, Kuroo could tell that you have lost this bug-related contest, but it's a Friday night tradition that neither of you could give up. Catching, counting, and releasing fireflies. A competition to see who had the most at the end of the night. As kids, you two used to go out with nets and coverable buckets, sleeves rolled up, and a curfew hanging over your heads. It always ended with your shoes muddy and your pants torn from stumbling in the dirt due to a lack of light and a myriad of scattered, shallow ditches. But neither of you could have cared less. All you'd known is that you were ready to laugh and fight over who won the night before, while simultaneously bantering about what the two of you would do as grown-ups. And the same goes for Kuroo and you now. You may not be 8 years old anymore, but being on the verge of 20 hadn't seemed to extinguish this love for firefly catching. There was a childlike charm to the routine, and these days there's a lot more to it than just glowing bugs and late nights. There's a lot more tickling, a little more laying his head in your lap while you counted shining stars as he pointed out the shimmering frames of constellations. Several instances of tugging his shirt at the creak of a creepy tree or a howl from a far-off animal, leading to holding his steady hand while trekking back into the city, not to mention a multitude of conversations sparking from nothing, much like twinkling little insects against the backdrop of the waxing moon, coming and going, bright and blinking, and then dark and discreet. And lately, these patterns have left Kuroo with questions. He's clever, but unassuming. He wants to believe that your glances are more than, well, just a glance. That you, with your head on his shoulder and your side pressed into him, isn't so much related to the now cooler weather, but rather you wanted to feel him against you. He trusts that these nights, usually meant for parties and friends, are reserved for him for a reason. Still, he doesn't want to just jump the gun and lose you to untimely verbalized feelings, but if there was a place to tell you how he really felt, it would be in this field. I caught 10, you slowly said, trying to sound as convincing as possible while closing your hands around the flickering lights. His face is then illuminated by another floating bug. It blinks, casting a yellowish gold glow on his cheeks, the light disappearing shortly, and you're both left in the dark of the field once again. But from what you could see, his eyes were squinting and focused directly on you. Prove it, Kuroo demands, voice curious and disbelieving. You might not have been able to see his face, but you're sure he was wearing a humorously irked smile. You couldn't help but mess with him. Aw, you don't trust me? He hated it when you said stuff like that. Kuroo was always the one to tease, so you at least wanted to fight for your dignity and bother him in the process with some prickly comments of your own, plus you were in the mood to just push him around a little. The clouds stopped blanketing the mood, revealing both of your positions in the field. He's just only a few short strides away. Just show me your hands, listener, the raven-haired boy presses, taking a step towards you. Your heart flutters a little. And why should I? You take a step back, a mischievous grin growing on your face. Listener? I think, you say, taking another step backwards. You'll have to catch me first, you finish, bounding away. You finally caught him off guard, but it only takes Kuroo a few moments before he's after you, fireflies long gone from your hands and his. You leap over a few puddles left over from the rain that poured earlier in the week. You giggle, though breathless, as you hear a splash and a grunt behind you. You're at least winning this game so far. You have to wonder if you really reverted back to your 8-year-old self just now. You're playing so dirty, he calls after you, his pace more of a jog compared to your sprint. Turning your head to respond, you exclaim, then stop winning so much. You sprint through the tall grass, but you hear him closing in on you, so you opt to hide out behind one of the trees in the edge of the field. As you duck down low, you hear his pace slow, Kuroo's footsteps once heavy, intentionally concealing some of their sound, but he walks right past you, head tilting and peeking behind tree after tree. The supposedly confused male makes his rounds and turns back in the field. However, he doesn't say a thing. You can't even hear his footsteps, carefully placed or not anymore. You remain quiet, catching your breath and slowly sinking onto the grassy floor to give your legs a break. Maybe he was just messing with you now. Had you taken it too far? Did something happen to him? Kuroo, You call out calmly. Nothing. Okay, I get it. Please, come out. You beg, trying to sound unbothered, but there's a tinge of concern. Still nothing. You stand up again, stepping out and away from the tree, head clouded with bubbling thoughts of worry when suddenly, Kuroo, gotcha. You let out a shriek. His hands wrap snugly around your waist and he spins you in a quick, dizzying circle while laughing heartily. Your eyes go as wide as dinner plates and there's an excruciating pounding in your chest. Kuroo then lets you sink back to your feet onto the ground, so that you can give him a more firm but gentle shove while letting out a huff. You squawk like a bird, he comments, eyes golden and twinkling. The nerve, he'd nearly given you a heart attack jumping out like that, and he still dared to keep that overconfident smirk plastered to his face? That smirk that made you both want to slap him and kiss him at the same time? You can't help but immediately tug him into a hug, grasping to the fabric of his shirt that once clung to his broad back. His chest warms you up and tucks you in. You'd been dying to hold him all week long, and this scare finally pushed you over the edge. Kuroo's eyes widen a fraction before his arms are folding over your shoulders and his chin is set on top your head. It's as though his body was perfectly form-fitted for yours, his frame melting into your own. He sighs deeply, breathing in your presence and the scent of honeysuckle from the bushes nearby. His mouth is no longer a smirk, but a soft, tender smile. You're still pretty tense, even in his protective arms. Did I scare you? Silence. You simply nodded into his white t-shirt. Kuroo squeezes you a little tighter. I'm sorry, he whispers apologetically into your hair, rubbing a few circles into your back, a habit he'd gotten into whenever the night held a eerie atmosphere or the day had been particularly painful. It's okay, you smile at him, face pressed into him, taking in his familiar scent. The field had already been quieter today, but it was nothing like the silence that hovered above yours and Kuroo's head in this moment. Neither of you could let go. Neither of you wanted to. That wasn't until a firefly landed directly on your nose. You pull back from its warmth, but the little lightning bug refuses to budge, braving your moments. It tickles, but you couldn't bring yourself to flick it away, though you feel like you're going a bit cross-eyed. Kuroo pulls away. He simply stares at your face, a small grin forming before inhaling deeply and blowing directly at the bug. Suddenly your nose is no longer glowing, but you feel as though the boy in front of you is. His face was so close enough that you're worried he'll feel the flush of heat rising from your cheeks. The moon had his spiky yet somehow still soft, shining hair in silver tones. His golden eyes were piercing and unreadable, but that smile? It revealed it all. Kuroo's usually goofy expression is replaced with something winsome and sunny, a stark contrast to the blue light surrounding you two. And there's a peace that settles deep within him, something that's telling him that this is the perfect time to show you how he's been feeling, to express how much he loves being by your side. But he wants to be even nearer, and so, as these long, drawn-out seconds pass, he gets closer and closer. Before you can even blink, he's dipped into you, taking your lips into his own. Oh, so this is bliss. His weight is slightly shifted onto you without being overbearing. Kuroo's hand had made its way onto your face, smoothing soft strokes against your cheekbone with his thumb, his hair brushing gently against your forehead, and his lips pressing against yours slowly and thoughtfully, testing the waters. They were warm, soft, and confident. And though the heat is flowing through your veins, you could wholeheartedly believe if somebody told you your face was on fire, you'd kiss him back. You're trembling, but so secure, hesitant, but held together by his strong arms. His hands are attentive and readjust and regrip, keeping you steady in between the messy, memorizing movements. And like something out of a fairy tale or a childhood storybook, the fireflies seem to take notice. They dance around you in serene motions, silently encompassing the long-awaited moment. But he pulls back. You already missed his taste and electrifying warmth that came with it. Kuroo scours your face for a reaction. You looked a bit dazed, but there was an ethereal glow in your eyes. It was much preferable to your previously bug-eyed look that you gave him earlier. But did that scare you? He questioned, a tilt to his head and a softer and more serious tone this time. You blink, and a genuine, closed-mouth smile takes over your face, creasing your eyes. Well, you linger on the words, still teasing him. Listener, Kuroo brings his hands to your face, cupping and squishing your cheeks between his rough palms. No, you admit bashfully, a little muffled by the strange shape your mouth had been smushed into. Your hands making their way to his, pressing your palms on the backs of them and running your thumbs across his knuckles. Good, he sets out a sigh of relief. But you seem a little frazzled, you prod at him, tilting your face into his digits. Slight concern decorating your features. Again, the darkness tried to hide it, but there's a flash of vulnerability in his eyes, an etching of honesty in the furrowing of his brows. You decide to shift your fingers that way they intertwine slightly, even with his hand still on your face. Maybe it's because I've been thinking about confessing to you for months now, Kuroo glares, but it doesn't stick around for long. That smile flitters right back. So cut a guy a break, alright? He pleads with feigned annoyance. And Kuroo glances away, smile gone again. Maybe go out with me while you're at it? He trails off, his body managing to match your flush now. You could tell he was nervous, but these nerves weren't for him. He's searching your eyes to see if they were comfortable with this or not, if you were on the same page as him. Even with that kiss, Kuroo wasn't about to pressure you into anything, but you've already been ready for this for quite some time. And like a fallen ice cream cone on a hot sidewalk, you were melting into a putty of gooey sweetness on the inside, because he really cared that much. But you could hardly handle the tense shift in the air, already beyond flustered, so you grin again. Only if you cut me a break for my losing streak, you joke, fighting the blush that battles its way back onto your skin. Kuroo drops his hands from his face in defeat, clearly done with being the serious one right now. However, you're promptly pulled back into another bear-like hug. He quickly mumbles something over your head as you wrap your hands around the back of him. Now you're the one drawing little shapes and circles into his back. I didn't catch that, he said, pressing a kiss into his chest, then searching for his gaze. I said fine, he repeats a little louder this time, but there's a fondness in his tone, and there's this newness to the softness of your touch on Kuroo's back. To these Fridays full of those innocent firefly bystanders, to the catch and release of the quiet blinking bugs, because Kuroo's finally caught something, and this time it's not insects or feelings. He finally caught you, or rather, he's gotten caught up in you, but he's not really worried about the specifics. Alright, so that one was super cute. I just wanted to say, like, chef's kiss to this one. Love it so much. I also want to say, Discord link, music link, and fanfiction link will be in the description, and goodbye!